So we're up in Haringay. There's a band playing in Finsbury Park behind me really loudly. We're up here because I want to take a stroll through what's now being called the Harringay Warehouse District, which is an intriguing prospect. It's one of London's major historic industrial heartlands, home to some very famous names, or one particular famous name that I'll show you in a minute. And it's been reimagined now as a kind of really vibrant, creative community that have now occupied the old industrial unit. So I'm really intrigued to have a look and see what's going on here. At the moment it just looks mostly residential on Hermitage Road, doesn't it? In the mid-19th century, Hermitage Road just had four large houses before it was industrialised at the beginning of the 19th century. This land here originally belonged to the Knights Hospitallers of St John, where we were just last week, in Clerkenwell. Obviously they acquired land all over the place, including here. And when we've had a look around the Harringay Warehouse District, after that we're going to go, finally I'm going to go to the correct site of the Mossy Well, but go via Alexandra Palace, Ali Pally. So lots of treats in store today up here in the wonderful borough of Haringay. Let's talk about the Harringay RRAY and the Haringay EY. Let's clear that one up at an appropriate juncture. Somewhere down here, down Vale Road, is where these used to be manufactured, Maynards wine gums, which I bought locally. And they were manufactured here from 1903 to 1998. So I'm really keen to find the Maynards factory. I think it must be one of those units down the end there, surely. I do love early 20th century industrial architecture. It's got something about it, isn't it? I suppose that's the kind of heyday of the modern industrial age. And around London you had so many vital industries. In this area alone here, not only did you have Maynards making their wonderful wine gums, but you also had, this was the centre of piano manufacture in Britain. Britain's piano manufacturers were based here. And it also then from that spawned various types of furniture making. And then during the Second World War, one of the notable office fitters here started making propellers for aeroplanes as part of the war effort. The factories started to shut down in the 80s, particularly the larger factories, and they were replaced by light industry. And then a little bit later you had creative practices moving in here, creative industries moving in here, and a kind of live-work culture started to prosper here, which has been endorsed by the councils as an official thing. So people are not just working here and running their creative businesses, they're also living as well. There's a very sort of particular ethos behind it. And of course that creates a different atmosphere where this is not only where people work, but also where they live. You get a very different type of community, a real vibrant community is said to have now spawned in this kind of post-industrial landscape. So here it is, this is Maynards. I was wondering if I'd be able to find it. What a wonderful building. You can see, look, the Maynards sign there. Maynards Limited, 1908. I wonder if this can't have been the whole factory. This can't have been where all the wine gums in the United Kingdom and around the world were made, surely. I think this whole thing must have been the Maynards factory. Look, you can see where it's attached there. And through there. And this is the back of the Maynards building, I think. Lumen House here. And I love the Art Deco railings around the front. This is a real treasure trove here, isn't it, of early 20th century industrial architecture. And what's interesting here is there's brand new industrial workshops being built here. So the industrial present is still very much alive in the Harringay Warehouse District, which is interesting. This is the Florentina village. Here's a plaque about the founder of Florentina village, Christiani, a Cypriot immigrant who came to the UK in 1958 and named it after his mum. How lovely. That's a really great substation, an absolutely cracking substation. And look at this incredibly intriguing building here on the corner of Tavistock Road and Vale Road. What is that? There is a danger, of course, that the success of the Harringay Warehouse District and its unique kind of creative live-work culture, which also from walking around it, there's quite a few sort of almost like traditional industrial businesses here as well, a lot of sort of small-scale manufacturing. The issue is now it's threatened by gentrification and redevelopment. There's quite a lot of redevelopment going on in Haringay. There was a massive, what they called the HDV, the Harringay Development Vehicle, I think it was. Some of it very controversial, so it's not a foregone conclusion that this will survive. It is very much still kind of fighting for its survival, and I hope it will. It's interesting to see the Courtney Pope signage still there on that office building. They were one of the major furniture manufacturers in this area, probably perhaps in London, and they were the company that then diversified into wartime industries, making propellers. Cara House, Artist Village, space for creatives. This kind of thing's a real premium in London now. There's a real dearth of affordable artist studios and artist spaces. What with the, not just the gentrification of London, but also the overdevelopment of London in recent years, is that now there's very few spaces for artists. A lot of the areas where artists were based now have become incredibly expensive and desirable. Like Hackney Wick is a great example, Bow, Hackney Wick, that kind of area. And then as artists have moved on to places like Tottenham, they've also been gentrified and the artists have been pushed out. And the thing is like, it's the artistic community in London, the creativity of London, which was always one of its great attractions, one of its great appeals. It's one of the reasons that people have wanted to live here. So you get this paradox, and that because it's a kind of cool place, cool Britannia and all that swinging 60s, you don't get that if you don't have the artists and the creative people. So it draws people with money into the city who want to experience a bit of it, then they want to live where the artists are, then the artists can't afford to live there anymore. So that's the cycle that we're caught in London, unfortunately. This is a little bit of a pushback against that, if you like, or not a pushback, this is a little bit of an answer to that question. But I just hope, I hope it can hang on. I hope it can survive and prosper, not just survive, but prosper. Another part of the Courtney Pope factory here. I'm pretty sure somebody will have already have called out in the comments that just up there, at the top of that grassy bank is the New River, which we will be walking soon. Don't worry, it's going to happen within the next sort of month to 6 weeks. I'm so glad I came for a wander around the Harringay Warehouse District. It's one of those real kind of hidden gems of London, a real little local secret, if you like. I'm sure people living around here know all about it. Come and have a look. Come and have a look. It's a little bit quieter than I thought it would be on a Friday afternoon, but maybe it's more of a weekend type place. So now we're going to go up to Alexandra Palace. We're going to walk, I think we'll go along Green Lane, shall we? Go along Green Lanes and then up to Ali Pali. And then we'll finish on the Mossy Well. And I will answer that question about Haringay, R-A-Y, and Haringay, 1R and EY. It's interesting. Or is it? Is it? It's one of the most persistent questions about London, isn't it? I can finally crack open my wine gums now, and now we're leaving the Warehouse District. Green Lanes here is one of the longest roads in London. It's 6.3 miles, running from Newington Green to Winchmore Hill. When I lived up here, people always said it was a Roman road. I don't think that's been proven yet. It's more likely believed to have been a medieval drover's route that brought livestock in from Hertfordshire into the centre of London. Either way, it's a very old and very important road and one of London's great streets for food. So here we are at Harringay Green Lanes. Now note the spelling there of Haringay, 2 R's and then G-A-Y. And you'll notice as well, the eagle-eyed of you, that the borough is spelt differently. It's spelt with one R and it ends with EY. And what is the difference? That's a question people always like to ask, isn't it? I remember it was once on Robert Elms, of course. And the obvious simplistic answer is, well, Haringay RRGAY is the neighbourhood and Haringay EY is the borough. But why? There is no simple answer. The name Haringay, spelled like this, comes from the original settlement of Harring's enclosure. Haring, I'm guessing, was some sort of Dane or Anglo-Saxon. And then the borough of Hornsey, they wanted to change the spelling to be end in EY with one R. But the borough was split. The area was split between two boroughs, South Tottenham and Hornsey. And then finally, when they united those boroughs into the London Borough of Haringay in 1965, it became Haringay EY as the borough. But of course the area, the settlement, the original enclosure of Harring's people, that stayed with this spelling. I'm going to credit Hugh from Harringay Online with that. I'll link below to his better explanation. Need we be reminded that the very first Wetherspoons pub was in Muswell Hill, where our walk will end. But the second Wetherspoons, and I think the third Wetherspoons, was down here on Green Lanes, Haringay Green Lanes. The Suffolk Punch, which I don't know where the Suffolk Punch has gone. I think it may have closed. I used to drink in there when I was a student living in the area 1991, 1992. The magnificent Salisbury Hotel, and a really good marker for where we cross over paths with the Stonebridge Brook walk I did recently. Well, it's about a year and a half ago, actually might be nearly 2 years ago. That was a great walk about the lost river of this area, and that pub was used as a location in the wonderful film Chaplin, starring Robert Downey Jr. as Charlie Chaplin. It's raining quite a bit now, and the section of Green Lanes up here is in that Stonebridge Brook video, so I'll link to that below, and I'll keep the camera dry and we'll pick it up when we can on the approach to Ali Pali. I'm just going to turn up Hewitt Road and then on to Wightman Road, where I used to live when I was a student. I'll be coming along here soon when I do the New River Walk in a couple of weeks. I was really tempted to take this path here, not knowing what it was, and it's the New River Path. So I'll have to save it. I can't go down here now and, blow that part of the walk. That's quite funny. Now we go over the railway line here at Hornsey, onto the side, and then just up the hill to Ali Pali, one of the great buildings of London. This is an incredibly fine building here on the corner of Tottenham Lane and Priory Road. I wonder what it used to be. I'm tempted to say a bank, but it'd be quite an unusual place to find a bank. And it was indeed a bank. Just a short distance along the high street here. And it's funny, I never think of this as being Hornsey High Street, but that is apparently what it is. What I think of Tottenham Lane as being, and Hornsey, not Hornsey Road, but Tottenham Lane is, I always thought, was the main road in Hornsey, but it's not. It's this. Something I'd never really noticed before next to the Great Northern Railway Tavern is, look, it's the Smithfield Refrigerator Works. Obviously a place to store the meat once upon a time. I really do love a bit of old borough signage. Here we have the Borough of Hornsey, Garden of Remembrance. St Mary's Tower here, the ancient Tower of St Mary's, is all that remains of a medieval church. It was first mentioned or first referred to in 1291 in taxation records, and the Bishop of London refers to it in 1308. So it's believed it would have existed, or could well have existed, before those first mentions. It's a really wonderful relic, isn't it? This road here has an intriguing name. It's just simply called the Campsbourne, which of course would indicate a river. Luckily I bought a book about the secret rivers of Haringay, which I will consult when I get home. And if the camp spawn is a river, it's running along the bottom of this street here. You can see where it sharply descends into what could potentially be a river valley. I love little detours like this. It's wonderful, and it's reminding me that it's when I lived up the road here, when I was a student in my last year at uni, that I really got deep into my kind of wandering around London, making notes in a little pocket notebook about what I was seeing and wanting to know more about the history. And this area, yeah, I mean, this is where my fascination with the little unexpected corners of London really crystallised. And what's interesting, to buck a kind of London-wide trend, is there's at least, I think, 4 pubs and bars that I've seen along here. Well, if you include bars, there'd be more, but you've got the Tav there, North 8, then there's like the Three Compasses and the Great Northern Railway Tavern, so that's 4 pubs in quite a short space there. So I think I'll approach Alexandra Palace from this rather beguiling street here, Park Avenue North. The wonderful Alexandra Park with the palace there on the top of the hill and its famous TV transmission area. The information board says that it attracts up to 2 to 3 million visitors a year. The palace and the park, that is. So one of the major destinations in London. And the decision to stop the railway line running here is looking very short-sighted, isn't it? I think at one point they intended to run the Northern Line along the old railway track, but now it's a walk, of course, the Parkland Walk. And now we have the walk up to the magnificent Alexandra Palace, the People's Palace. Opened in 1873, it had quite a tragic early life when it was it burnt down 2 weeks after opening, which was a bit of a setback, as I'm sure you can imagine. It was quickly rebuilt and in the early days was nicknamed the People's Palace. Even then, soon it was earmarked for private redevelopment and even housing back then, which is interesting, isn't it? And an Act of Parliament saved it for the people, the People's Palace. Saved for the people by an Act of Parliament. I suppose what it's probably best known for, certainly by a lot of people, is being the site of the first regular TV broadcast in the world. Not the first TV broadcast, but the site of the first regular TV service, broadcast by the BBC from 1936. It was also used as an internment camp during the First World War for Germans in the United Kingdom, and by all accounts was quite a grim place to be held. Freezing cold in winter, cramped, men there living on camp beds separated from their families. The Alexandra it's named after is Alexandra of Denmark, Princess of Wales, who was married to Prince Albert Edward in 1963. So in those early years of its opening, it hosted a massive concert hall, which is still used for today. There was a library here, a banqueting hall, art galleries, all sorts of stuff going on. And in the grounds, there was a racecourse even, pitch and putt, cricket, both of which I think still exist. I certainly play pitch and putt here, and I've seen people playing cricket down below. So it has retained a lot of its original functions. I think a lot of the people in the comments will have memories of coming here to see gigs. There's also lots of kind of trade shows here. I think for a long time it was the host of the wedding show, many years, all bridal gowns and all sorts. Those kind of expos happen here still regularly, and it's a really magnificent location. I've never been to a gig here. In fact, I don't think I've ever been to anything here apart from the bar and the pitch and putt. But the Palm Court is one of the great wonders as well of Alexandra Palace, the People's Palace. I wonder if that's open today and I can get into the Palm Court. It was afflicted by another fire, and the burnt out shell of the concert hall was used in the film adaptation of 1984. It's got that kind of vibe about it, hasn't it? It is interesting. And the radio mast is still actually used for radio and television broadcast, apparently. And of course, it has incredible views out across London. It really is an astonishing landscape from up here, isn't it? There's more to see in Alexandra Park, but we have a date to correct a previous wrong. When I did my walk to the Mossy Well, when I made my pilgrimage to the Mossy Well, when I was taking my notes from my handwritten notes and typing them up, I wrote up Muswell Road as Muswell Hill Road, and I went to the wrong place. Obviously didn't find the Mossy Well, did I? And the comments there were, I don't know how many there were, telling me that what a fool I'd been and pointing out the correct location on Muswell Road, in fact that there's a plaque there and all the rest of it. So for me, that's something which I can't just leave unaddressed. So now we're going to go to Muswell Road, to the site of the Mossy Well, the site of pilgrimage since the Middle Ages. We're going to do it. That's a great way to end this walk. It's not far from here, it's just sort of over that way. Under the old railway bridge here, that must be this section of the Parkland Walk. I've only actually walked this part of it once, I think. Obviously looks different from down here. There are quite a few related videos. One of them certainly is the Parkland Walk I did in the snow years ago, the Beast from the East. I walked it in the Beast from the East for some reason that I can't remember. So Muswell Road is just down here on the left. I recounted the history of the Holy Well in my previous video. Got that bit right, I just got the location wrong. But just to briefly recap, it gained its kind of reputation in the Middle Ages when it said that a king of the Scots was miraculously cured from drinking the water from a well here, and I think I've heard it mentioned that it was Malcolm IV. And there was a chapel built there to Our Lady of Muswell, which I think was there until the 1880s. And it belonged to the Priory of St Mary Clerkenwell, which is intriguing given the start of our walk. We're on land that belonged to the Priory of St John Clerkenwell. And those two priories basically were back to back, one little narrow lane between them. You can see that in a video. That's where the name Muswell is said to come from, the Mossy Well, the Muswell, the Mossy Well. And of course, you can see the association with the Moselle, which has its source up in Queenswood, which is why, to justify it, which is why I thought that's a legit place for the spring that fed the well to be, near the source of the River Moselle. That, come on, give me that. Legit mistake to make, but I can't miss the plaque again. It's just down here. Now I need to get this right. I think it's just up here on the left. So there it is. To be honest with you, I did need Google Maps to show me, because it's not exactly the easiest thing to make out, is it? I'm going to zoom right in. That's why I brought the camcorder with me today. It's quite difficult to read. And here it is anyway, the site of the Muswell, the Mossy Well, on this house here at number 40 Muswell Road. So this house here was a site of pilgrimage, an ancient site of pilgrimage, and now it's just part of a terrace. Is it a terrace or is it? Yes, it is a terrace. But once this was a very, very celebrated location. I wonder how far people travelled on their pilgrimages to come here. Probably only came from the city of London, but even so, it's a decent walk all the way uphill. That is a really beautiful ending to this walk. I'm very happy about that. And also, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't feel so bad about getting it wrong now, because you know what, that's quite hard to read, that plaque. It's not obvious. I thought it was going to be bigger and more prominent. The text, you can't really read the text. And as I was just going to look at it before I started filming, one of the residents of that building came out to the bin, so I just got chatting to him. So I said, "Oh, do you mind?" He was like, "No, fine, absolutely fine." So I said, you get many people coming to look at it? You went, no, not really. And I told him about all the comments and he was, he was a little bit surprised. So that's beautiful. Wow, very happy about that. So thanks for joining me on this Haringay adventure into the real wonders of this fantastic borough in North London, one of the boroughs where I've lived. And I've got a massive affection for this area. I've written about it quite a lot. God knows how many videos now. I don't know how many videos now I've made around here, quite a few. So that concludes that latest instalment. I'm sure there'll be more. I don't know, there's some other things I missed out of my Muswell Hill video that people will be going, hang on a moment, what about? But there you go, you can't do everything, can you? So, as I always like to say, I look forward to seeing you on the next walk, wherever that may be.
It's over the meadow, over the stream, it's where I am going and where I have been. It's been a long day now, it's time for a beer, and now for home, of course I must steer. It's over the meadow, over the stream, I hope